Evidence linking former rugby player and debt collector Charl Kinnear to Nafiz Modak took centre stage in the Western Cape High Court. Kinnear, Modak and 13 co-accused face over 100 charges. They have all pleaded not guilty, despite Kinnear's attempts to conceal his association with Modak by deleting incriminating WhatsApp messages and images from his phones before his arrest. The Hawks were able to retrieve evidence from one of his phones.
At 5:38, Mr. Breyer says, need to check bank statements to see who paid for pings.
In the morning, Mr. Kinnear responds to Breyer by saying what?
Think it come from our Morgan account.
Further information recovered from Kinnear's phone includes pinging evidence of top criminal lawyer William Booth, Modak's rivals in the underworld, as well as several members of the anti-gang unit.
Nafiz Modak, along with 14 co-accused, faces 124 charges, including several high-profile murders. Among these is the assassination of anti-gang unit detective Charl Kinnear, who was killed in front of his home in Bishop Lavis in September 2020. Investigators allege that Modak orchestrated this hit as part of a larger effort to eliminate law enforcement figures hindering his operations. The group is also charged with the murder of Nicholas Heerschap, a 74-year-old pensioner, outside his Melkbos-Strand home in July 2019. This attack was reportedly a case of mistaken identity, as the intended target was Heerschap's son, a former Hawks officer. Modak's charges include the attempted assassination of high-profile criminal attorney William Booth, who was targeted in a shooting outside his Higgovale residence in 2020. The trial has revealed intricate details of these plots, including testimonies from state witnesses who admitted their roles in Modak's criminal network. These witnesses exposed how Modak allegedly coordinated and financed these attacks. The ongoing trial has seen over 40 state witnesses testify, offering detailed accounts of the group's operations, including links to Cape Town's notorious Terrible West Siders gang. This testimony has painted a picture of a tightly coordinated criminal enterprise, blending gang activities with business ventures. To understand why this trial is so significant, we first need to understand who Nafiz Modak is. Known as a controversial figure in Cape Town's crime scene, Modak's influence stretches across extortion syndicates, the nightclub industry, and alleged ties to political figures. His rise to infamy has been as rapid as it has been ruthless. Welcome to Knowledge Through Times. If today is your first time coming across this channel, kindly like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this video. Modak isn't your average criminal figure. His name has been tied to high-profile assassinations, extortion schemes, and even allegations of bribery involving police officials. But now, the man who once seemed untouchable is facing the fight of his life in a courtroom. The question is, how did we get here? To understand the magnitude of Nafiz Modak's ongoing trial, we need to go back to where it all began, Cape Town's notorious underworld. Modak's rise wasn't by accident. He entered the scene during one of the city's most chaotic periods, when gang wars and extortion syndicates ruled the streets and the nightlife industry became a battleground for power. Modak quickly made a name for himself. Known for his calculated moves and alleged willingness to use violence, he gained control over lucrative protection rackets, targeting businesses, nightclubs, and even private property owners. It's alleged that Modak built an empire by forcing these establishments to pay for his protection, of course, from the very threats his network created. But Modak's reach didn't stop there. Over time, he expanded his operations, allegedly infiltrating the security industry and forming alliances with key players in the Cape Flats, an area long plagued by gang activity. His name became synonymous with fear, power, and control. And yet, with all his alleged influence, Modack's rise didn't come without resistance. Rival gangs, law enforcement, and even political figures started to push back. The result? A trail of blood, broken alliances, and criminal cases that would eventually lead to his downfall, or so it seems. The relationship between Nafiz Modak and Charl Kinnear was primarily antagonistic, driven by Kinnear's efforts to dismantle Modack's alleged criminal empire. Kinnear, a prominent detective in the anti-gang unit, was deeply involved in investigating and combating gang-related activities, including those linked to Modack. Modack, who is accused of orchestrating various criminal operations in Cape Town, allegedly saw Kinnear as a significant threat to his operations. Kinnear had been vocal about his efforts to expose Modack's network, particularly regarding the gangster's involvement in extortion and money laundering. This made Kinnear a target. The murder, carried out outside Kinnear's home in September 2020, was suspected to be a hit ordered by Modack or those close to him. According to some testimonies, Modack was directly involved in orchestrating the murder to silence Kinnear and prevent him from further disrupting his criminal enterprises. Modack's extensive network, allegedly including corrupt law enforcement and business figures, may have further facilitated such a hit. Kinnear's role in investigating the very activities Modack relied on for his wealth and power likely made him one of Modack's most dangerous enemies. Nafiz Modak, along with 14 co-accused, faces 124 charges, including several high-profile murders. CCTV footage from around Kinnear's home captured the chilling moments before and after his death. A hooded figure can be seen waiting for Kinnear to arrive home. As his car slows to enter the driveway, the figure swiftly approaches, fires several shots through the car window, and then disappears. This brutal act, carried out in broad daylight, would set the stage for the eventual takedown of one of South Africa's most feared criminals, Nafiz Modak. The murder of Kinnear was no random act of violence. He had been investigating Modack's criminal empire for years, and this assassination was a targeted attempt to silence him. The investigation that followed the murder quickly led to a major breakthrough. Charl Kinnear, a former professional rugby player turned private investigator, was arrested in Springs, near Johannesburg. Kinnear was accused of using his tracking business to monitor Kinnear's movements for months leading up to the day of his assassination. Kinnear's phone had been pinged repeatedly by Kinnear's equipment, with tracking records showing that the phone was being monitored every 3 minutes on the day of the murder. Kinnear initially denied any connection to Modack, claiming that he had been hired by a man named Mohammed Brown. However, further investigation uncovered a critical piece of evidence. A BMW registered to Modack was found in Kinnear's possession, which exposed his lies. After Kinnear's failed bail applications and mounting evidence against him, the police moved to arrest Modack in April 2021. A dramatic car chase in the Milnerton area of Cape Town led to his capture. Along with an associate, Modack was taken into custody, marking the beginning of one of South Africa's most significant organized crime trials. Modack was referred to as Accused Number 1 in the indictment, which revealed the depth of his involvement in organized crime. However, Kinnear's assassination was merely a chapter in a much longer investigation that began back in 2017, when Kinnear first started looking into Modack's criminal activities. Kinnear's relentless pursuit of justice made him a thorn in Modack's side, and over the years, there were multiple attempts on his life before the successful hit in 2020. Modack's arrest marked a turning point, but it also exposed the complex web of violence, retaliation, and corruption within his criminal network. To truly grasp the gravity of this case, we must look back at earlier events. On October 30th, 2018, advocate Pete Mihalik, a well-known lawyer who represented Modack, was shot dead while dropping his children off at school in Greenpoint. The attack, which injured his 9-year-old son, sent shockwaves through Cape Town. Kinnear led the investigation into Mihalik's murder, uncovering connections between the hit and Modack's associates. Then, in April 2020, another lawyer, William Booth, survived an assassination attempt outside his home in Bishop's Court. Booth was ambushed by 2 men who fired shots at him after he had just walked his dogs. Fortunately, Booth escaped unharmed, but investigations revealed that Modack had orchestrated the attack as retaliation for Mihalik's death, which he believed was ordered by rival crime boss Jerome Boyson. Further investigation implicated Zane Killian, who had been tracking Booth's phone for months prior to the failed hit. This cycle of violence seemed endless, with Modack using violence and intimidation to tighten his grip on Cape Town's criminal underworld. In January 2024, after years of delays, Modack's trial finally began. One of the key witnesses in the case was a hitman known only as Mr. A Double Quote. He testified about being hired to kill William Booth, but despite multiple attempts, he was unsuccessful. The trial also revealed numerous attempts on Kinnear's life before the successful assassination. One such attempt occurred in November 2019, when a grenade attack on Kinnear's home was foiled after the assailant, Fareed Smith, was arrested. Investigators linked the failed attack to Modack through phone records, showing that Kinnear's address had been sent from Modack's phone to Smith's accomplices. As the trial continues, the state's case against Modack is built on a complex web of evidence, including witness testimonies, electronic communications, and connections to his co-conspirators. Modack and his co-accused face numerous charges, including conspiracy to commit murder, organized crime, and attempts to obstruct justice. As the trial progresses, Nafiz Modak's legal team has been focusing on discrediting the evidence presented by the state, attempting to cast doubt on the reliability of witness testimonies. Modack's defense attorneys have raised questions about the credibility of state witnesses, many of whom have criminal backgrounds and may have cooperated with law enforcement in exchange for reduced sentences. One of the key strategies of the defense has been to challenge the connection between Modack and the alleged crimes. For instance, they argue that some of the murders attributed to Modack were carried out by other criminal elements, with Modack's name only linked due to rumors and the chaotic nature of gang warfare in Cape Town. This tactic aims to create reasonable doubt about his direct involvement in the killings. Moreover, Modack's defense has focused on attacking the circumstantial evidence related to his finances. They have disputed the legitimacy of the documents showing money laundering, arguing that the business transactions in question could be explained by legitimate operations within the legal sectors Modack is involved in. While the defense has yet to provide a counter-narrative for all the charges, particularly the high-profile murder of Charl Kinnear, they continue to emphasize the presumption of innocence and highlight the gaps in the prosecution's case. It remains to be seen whether this strategy will hold weight as more witnesses are called to testify. As we await the outcome of the ongoing trial, the next crucial moments will involve the cross-examination of defense witnesses and any further revelations from the remaining testimonies. With each new detail, the trial brings us closer to understanding whether Nafiz Modak will face the full extent of justice for his alleged crimes, or whether the legal system will allow him to walk free. The trial of Nafiz Modak has not only gripped the courtroom, but also captured the attention of the public and media. Across South Africa, the case has become a symbol of the fight against organized crime, particularly in Cape Town, where Modack's alleged activities have long been a source of fear and intrigue. Media coverage has painted a stark picture of Modack as a powerful figure entrenched in the city's underworld. Reports detail the extensive network he allegedly controlled, and the trial has sparked debates over how deep corruption runs within the local law enforcement and political circles. As new details emerge, many are questioning how Modack, despite the numerous charges against him, managed to operate with relative impunity for so long. Public reaction has been mixed. Some view the trial as a long-awaited reckoning, believing that bringing down a figure like Modack would send a powerful message against organized crime. However, others argue that the case highlights systemic failures within South Africa's legal and political structures, pointing to the years it took for the authorities to take decisive action. Many see Modack's trial as just one part of a larger fight against corruption and gang violence in South Africa. The outcome of this case will likely have significant ramifications for both the local community and the broader South African criminal justice system. If Modack is convicted, it could mark a turning point in the fight against organized crime in Cape Town. Conversely, a possible acquittal could fuel public skepticism about the effectiveness of law enforcement in tackling high-profile criminal networks. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next video. Bye.